Low-level anxiety flutters in my stomach. It feels like grief. At losing Ziggy and Jamie. At losing my life, my lovely, happy life. And okay, it hadn't been perfect. We worried about money. I had to contend with his mother, Hannah, Katie, but they seem like such trivial things now. If he tells me our relationship has ended, there is no meaning to everything. I try to keep busy during the day, but it's hard without the... Hold on, y'all. Routine of a job to go to. I make an appointment with the GP, found out I'm about 9 weeks pregnant. Still so early, she says. The risk of miscarriage raised until after 12 weeks. I try not to think about that as I walk home. It's a blustery, showery day, which matches my mood. And then dull like the buildings look dingy, washed with gray. I keep busting into tears, suddenly overcome with emotion about Ziggy and Jamie. I feel like I'm losing my grip on reality. Find I'm unable to stop myself wandering past the school where I work. I watch the children in the playground from across the road, and an umbrella covering my head and face so they won't notice me. I want to run over and comfort little Zach McMurray when he falls over and grazes his knee, or when I see Catherine Simmons standing alone at the friendship stop, bravely trying not to cry, her little face pinched with worry. I miss them all so much that the feeling of hardness in my chest expands like a tumor, so I have to gasp for air. I remember the panic attack I had in Sylvia's conservatory, and I breathed deeply like she instructed. In through nose, out through mouth. In, out. The flat feels so big and empty and unwelcoming. Every now and then I hear a crash or a creak of floorboards from the flat above, or the echo of voices, and wonder if there are viewings. We had plans to put this flat on the market, but who knows if that will happen now. If JB wants us to separate, I'll have to find a flat of my own. And when I think of this, I have to forcefully push down my panic of being a single mother with no money, living on benefits, if I'm able to claim them, that is. Where would I live? The future feels so uncertain. Days pass, sliding into one another. I only see Jamie in the evening. We eat dinner together, barely talking, and lay side by side at night. But it feels as though there's a visible wall between us, dividing us. He says he needs time, and I need to be patient, to not push him. Some days I end up wandering the street aimlessly, imagining that Ziggy's by my side, his tongue hanging out eagerly as he strains against the lead. I'm tempted to ring Cara, but I'm too ashamed to speak to her, to anyone. One day, Flora pops up with homemade cottage pie. She sits with me and holds my hand while Jacob is engrossed in CBBBs and tells me she's afraid she'll always be my friend. Whatever happens with her brother. Her visit raises my spirits, and for a few days afterwards, I don't feel quite so alone. I force myself to go out for a walk every day. Sometimes I'm sure I hear the heavy tread of footsteps behind me. The hairs on the back of my neck instantly spring up. But when I look around, the narrow steps are empty, except for a solitary person or inquisitive tourist glancing up at the historic building or peering into a shop window. Jamie asks about the baby every evening. He wants to know if I feel nauseous, if I'm having any tingles, if I'm eating okay during the day. But when I try and probe him on the state of our relationship, the barriers come up, and his face goes blank, and so I give up. On a Wednesday, after about 10 days into our new routine, the sun is shining, the sky is clear, hazy blue. I can hear the sounds of drills or alarm more as I leave the flat for my regular walk via the school. As I climb the steps, I notice Hannah standing on the pavement, staring up to Evelyn's flat. It always takes me aback how tall she is, almost as tall as Jamie. She's wearing a dove gray jacket and a matching pencil skirt. She looks smart and attractive, her blonde hair falling in soft waves over her shoulders. Hannah says I reached the top so that we are level. What are you doing here? She looks startled to see me, as though she's forgetting that I'm living in the dark depths of the basement flat. My own personal dungeon. She stutters a bit. I notice she has a smudge of lipstick on her teeth and debate whether to tell her. Orchestrating between wanting to spare her pride and not wanting to embarrass her. Oh, hi. Oh, yes. Hi, Libby. Are you still calling yourself Libby? She asked, a touch of smugness to her voice. I'm not trusting myself to speak. She shifts her heavy-looking tote bag further up her shoulder and points to Evelyn's flat. I wanted to show somebody around, but they're late. She looks cross, and I imagine she'd rather be anywhere else than here talking to me. Maybe she feels like a traitor, standing here and making small talk with Jamie's estranged wife. She avoids eye contact, and instead she strolls straight ahead at Evelyn's house. We never had much to say to each other in the past, but now the awkwardness sizzles between us as we stand on the uneven pavement. I notice a weed growing in the crack in the slab. I hate myself for asking, but I can't help myself. Have you spoken to Jamie? She turns to me then and looks at me levelly with her cool gaze. He told me about the baby. Congratulations. She says it through a clenched jaw, like it's taking all effort to speak the words. I fumble with the button on my jacket. Thank you. It's different. It's different. You know, the worry about after the first miscarriage. We promised we wouldn't tell anyone until the 12 weeks had passed. Things with me and Jamie aren't. She pursed her lips together. Yes, he told me everything. We have lunch together when he's working from his mom's house. I'm just happy I can be there for him. With Ziggy and everything. Smack the bitch. It niggles me that he told her. I can imagine the cozy lunches in her coach house. Hannah fluttering her eyes as he tells her how happy married he is. I suppose if you do decide to separate, that you won't need to divorce. He says he doesn't think you're even legally married, considering you were using a fake name. It's like I've been kicked hard in the stomach. Divorce? Are things really that bad? I'm hoping that Jamie will forgive me eventually. She continues relentlessly, and I can't deny it's hard being a single mother. Felix is very well on, you know, but his father doesn't want anything to do with him. I never heard her talk so much. My face grows hot. Yes, well, Jamie won't be like that, even if we do split up, I say. Oh, I know. Jamie would be an excellent father. I always thought so. Devoted. She smiles to herself as we live in a private memory. Anyway, where are you off to? She appraises me, and I'm sure she's finding me lacking in my denim jacket that I had for at least 7 years. My cotton trousers with a zebra print, my battered Birkenstockings, and my chip pink nail varnish. Just for a walk. Yes, it's sad. What happened about your job? Suspended because those parents complained. Awful, she says. I wonder how she knows. I never told anyone apart from Jamie that some parents complained about me. Unless Jamie told Hannah. Of course, it wasn't a secret after all. And it's beginning to sound like he confides in her a lot. Have you told them that you're not really Elizabeth Elliot? Yes, I resigned. That must have been disappointing. But they would have had to sack you otherwise, wouldn't they? And you head of English or something, weren't you? She's enjoying this too much. And I have to bite the inside of my cheek to stop myself from retaliating. I nod. I made some stupid mistakes. Haven't we all? I say, and then to change the subject, I ask how the viewings are going. She frowns and brushes a wayward curl out her face. Not great. We only had 1 or 2. The place needs a lot of work. We weren't so forth. Now the summer's coming through, we hope to get a few more. Shame, the place standing empty like that. She narrows her eyes at me. Oh no, it's not empty. Miss Goldwyn's niece is staying there. Just until it says, all right, niece. I don't remember Evelyn mentioning the niece. She glances at a clunky gold watch on her wrist. Anyway, must get on. I think my potential clients have arrived. She shields her eyes from the sun as she squirts down the street. A young couple are strolling arm in arm towards me. I'm just about to turn and walk off in the opposite direction when I remember, oh, Hannah, I said in a loud whisper, you have lipstick on your teeth. She looks rattled, reaching onto her canvas handbag to retrieve a mirror. And then she's all fake smiles, talking in exclamation marks as she's joined by the young couple. And I slink away, more determined than ever to win Jamie back. Girl, you need to figure out who this niece is. You need to go knock on the door and figure out who this niece is and make sure Beth is really fucking dead. The husband have figured it out. And you still over here doing this. Oh, yes. We're going to get one more out of this, y'all. Chapter 38. Oh, hold on. I got to pee. I cannot believe we was on chapter 38. Almost done. I called Jamie's mobile while I walk in. He answers on the second ring. Is everything okay with the baby? Everything's fine. I just bumped into Hannah. She's showing people around Evelyn's flat. Apparently a niece is staying there. Evelyn never said she had a niece. A nephew, yes, but not a niece. Talking while thundering along makes me pant and I slow down. So that's the noise you've been hearing, he asks. But he sounds distracted, and I don't know, I probably interrupted his workflow. I take a deep breath of fresh air. I can smell cut grass and paddle, the newly laid tarmac from a driveway that I pass. An old lady is weeding in her garden. The curve of her back and her silver hair reminds me of Evelyn, and I feel a fresh pang of grief. Hannah says you told her everything about us, our problems. There is a stunned silence, and then, have you only called for a row? Because we can do that tonight. No, of course not. It's private though, Jay. What's happening with us? Right? His tone softens. I know that, Liz. I'm not saying anything to Hannah. I want it. It's no one else's business. He sounds sincere, but then how does she know about the baby? I miss you. What we had. My eyes full with tears, blinding me for an instant, so that I have to stop and lean against the wall. A pause. I wish I could. I could. Forgive me? He doesn't answer. He doesn't need to. His silence is everything. The flat feels different when I get back, as though somebody had been here. A chair has been pulled out from under the kitchen table. There is a glass on the side that wasn't there when I left. Had Jamie been here while I was out? I called his name while wandering in and out of rooms, but the flat is empty. And he would have said when we spoke. There is just a smell in there. The same scent I recognized after getting back from Cornwall. Spicy, like someone recently lit a scented candle, although I have no candles with this specific smell. Puzzled, I go into the bedroom and stare out into Evelyn's overgrown garden. It's even worse now than it was the day we found Sheen. The leaves of the neighboring trees poke through the broken fence. Ivy has found itself around some of the plants, strangling them. Clusters of weeds sprout from the ground. And the lawn looks muddy and churned up thanks to the feet of those policemen. And then I notice a dirty footprint on one of the cream patio slabs right outside my bedroom window. I feel a flutter of panic. It looks fresh, as though it has only been a matter of hours. Call the police, bitch. Why you sleep that now? It rained last night, a sudden violent downpour that would waken me about midnight. The print would have been washed away if it had been made yesterday. Maybe it was the couple looking around Evelyn's flat earlier, or Hannah. Perhaps she knows through the windows to see the room where Jamie and I slept. Or maybe it was this mysterious niece who's living in Evelyn's house. I don't know what makes me do it. Maybe it's the absence of any mention of niece or the way Hannah behaved earlier. But I suddenly found myself rooting around in the kitchen drawer for the spare key to Evelyn's place. Because that means Hannah been talking to the niece. And she been talking about you. And that's how she feel like that's really the niece. Because she don't understand that that's Beth, the person that didn't you stole. That makes sense now. Before I could change my mind, I run upstairs to Evelyn's flat with the excuse of hearing the noise at the ready, just in case the niece is there. She doesn't need to know that I saw Hannah this morning. Feeling reassured, I turn the key in the lock and the door swings open. My heart is heavy as I walk into Evelyn's hallway. Remember the last time I was here, half expecting to see Evelyn in her chair by the window knitting. Always knitting. It's not until I reach the living room that I'm hit by the same smell that was in my flat earlier. A scented candle? Incense? Where have I smelt that before? I scan the room. It's just as Evelyn left it, although there is now a layer of dust covering her ornaments, her mahogany coffee table, and the picture rail. I wander into the kitchen. It's not like ours, which is open plan and encompasses our living room. It's long and narrow, with units down either side and a single back door in the middle. I open the cupboards. Nothing looks out of place. A few cans of tomato and a can of tuna in one. A row of cups and glasses in another. I go back into the living room. It's also tidy, too unlived in. Surely no one is staying here. With trepidation, I make my way up the stairs and check the rooms that Evelyn hardly ever used. I pause on the lantern. It's creepy up here and old-fashioned, with dark painted walls and wooded paneling. The incense has reached this level. Instead, the room smells of mild mold and damp. I check each bedroom. Where's this niece staying? When I get to the smallest bedroom, I realize this is where she must be sleeping. The duvet is wrinkled, and there is a book on the bedside table. I pick it up. It is a novel with a tagline promising a dark and twisted thriller. And a crumbled and well-thrown photo falls out onto the brown patterned carpet. I pick it up and study it. It is a picture of a man with kind dark eyes, but what strikes me most about him is the sorrow etched into his face. It's emanating from the photograph, and in such a way it's tangible. He's holding the baby with a crop of dark hair in his arms, wrapped in a yellow blanket. The baby's eyes are tightly closed, and by the vexy texture of the skin and the unnaturally pale color, I realized with a sickening thud that the baby is dead. I slipped the photograph back inside the book, my heart heavy, and hurried back downstairs. Who is this person staying in Evelyn's apartment? I feel uneasy being here. I'm just about to leave when I see the plastic folder on the magnetic sideboard. Intrigued, I picked it up, turning it over in my hands. It's letter-sized and transparent so I can see the papers inside. I opened it, disappointed that it's nothing more exciting than house brochures. It must belong to Hannah. I rifled through them anyway. And that's when I see the card. Frowning, I slide it out of the folder. To the one I love is embezzled on the front, above the back of two cartoon pigeons, their arms wrapped around each other. Who would Hannah be sending cards to? I know I shouldn't, but I open it anyway, and everything seems to stop. All I can hear is my heart pounding in my ears. I think about you all the time, Jamie. Okay, one more video, y'all. I stare down at it, my hands trembling. Did Jamie send this to Hannah? Is he in love with her? Surely not. He seemed so sincere, so genuine when I asked him about it. But maybe I pushed him to it with my last. The writing is his usual scrawling hand, but in block capitals. Small, square, and neat. I shove it in the inside pocket of my jacket. Maybe he gave it to her years ago, when they were together, and she held on to it, although it doesn't look 10 years old. But she could have kept it in a safe place where it didn't tarnish and yellow with age. I'm just about to leave the living room when I hear the key in the front door. I freeze, unsure what to do. I contemplate hiding, but knowing it's ridiculous. I'll just have to stand and bearing it out. Tell whoever is standing here that I'm a neighbor just checking on the place because I heard a noise. I replace the folder and walk into the hallway. It's Hannah. She has her back to me as she closes the front door. When she turns around, she startled when she notices me. Libby, what are you doing here? She looks harassed, but her eyes are cold as she looks at me. I should be asking the same, I say the one time. She walks toward me, the square heels on her sensible shoes clipping the tilted flooring. I left my folder behind. How did you get in here? I have a spare key. You just can't let yourself in here, you know. I heard a voice. I wondered whether I should confront her now. But I want to wait until I've spoken to Jamie first, giving her a chance to explain. She narrows her eyes at me in disbelief. I told you that Miss Godwin's niece is staying here. The family still own it. You're trespassing. But she seems distracted as she hurries in the living room regardless of her folder. Clustering it close to her chest, she retreats back down the hallway. Can you close the door after you, she says. I'm late to Peter Felix. And then she's gone, slamming the front door behind her. I breathe out a sigh of relief. Tapering my denim jacket to make sure I still got the card to show Jamie. I head toward the front door. I have my hand on the handle when I hear a creak on the stairs. I freeze. I know someone is behind me. I sense eyes probing my back, boring into me. I turn slowly and there she is, standing on Evelyn's staircase. After all these years, she's changed considerably. Her hair is long and knotty, hanging almost to her waist. She has bags on her eyes and her face is pinched and hard. There is a faded bruise on her cheekbone, near her right eye. For a second, everything is quiet. I can hear a neighbor putting the bins out. Birds singing and a cat yodeling, but it all sounds far away, as though the words only made up the two of us. Well, if it isn't little Catherine Fisher, she says. Oh my God, what? Okay, I can only read one more chapter because then that'll be 40, 41, 42 in my last video, and then I can read the epilogue. Okay. Chapter 39. Her mouth is gasping open, her face ashen. She looks like she's seen a ghost. A cliche, I know, but in this case, it's true. So she really did think I was dead. What made her so sure? Beth, she stutters. She's holding on to the radio for support, and there's a sheen of sweat on her top lip. She was always prone to sweating when nervous. I remember the fuss she made over getting that tattoo. Haven't we got a lot of catching up to do? I say, walking down the stairs. She twists around to look frantically behind her, as though calculating her stake. Before she has a chance to move, I reach out and grab her upper arm and squeeze it hard enough to leave bruises. I hope you're not thinking of going anywhere. No. She is staring at me, though unable to believe that I'm actually here. There is fear in her eyes, too. It gives me a surge of energy, a purpose, like an electric charge. I've been waiting for this day ever since I saw her photo in the newspaper 6 weeks ago. Like seeing a ghost, huh? I grin, enjoying myself. I steer her into the living room. I think we need to talk, don't you? She opens and closes her mouth like a ventriloquist dummy, but no sound comes out. It actually makes me want to laugh. As always in our relationship, I hold all the power. I'm glad that nothing has changed there. Beth, she says, but I shove her hard in the chest, so she falls back onto the sofa. I can explain. I sit opposite of her, in a chair by the fireplace, underneath Evelyn's photographs. Good, because I'm listening. I cross my legs, the chains of my biker boots clinking. She shoots a glance at them, her face puzzled. Have you been following me, she asks? For weeks. I sit back grinning. And yes, it was me who sent you the packages. And I cleared your bank account. It was easy considering we have the same national insurance number. The same everything, really. Were you in my flat earlier? I shrug and pick up at a piece of, and pick a rip in my jeans. I could have been. How? She looks appalled. I have my ways. Some advantages of being with Sheen. She hesitated, her eyes swooping over me as though still unable to believe I'm actually sitting in front of her. How did you know where to find me? I saw your photograph in the newspaper. Right, little hero, aren't you? Leading all those kids to safety. Ashamed that you couldn't do that for me and the other people who died in the hostel. She just out her chin stubbornly. I thought you were dead. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. What I want to know is, how did you escape? She doesn't look at me. Instead, she studied the pattern of Evelyn's rug. I was already out of the hostel. I knew it, I say triumphantly. I knew there was manipulation behind it. Oh, I underestimated you, haven't I? What did you do, Karen? She lifts her head. Her eyes are wary. She looks exactly like the trapped animal. Then something changed in her face. Her expression hardens and she glows, baring her cheeks. I hated you after what you did with Harry. How did you know? Did you know that I was pregnant? I didn't, although I suspected later. She was so pale, so lifeless in Bangkok. I thought it was because she was lovesick for Henry. I found out from looking at your, or should I say my medical records. I didn't mean for things to end up like they did. I saw an opportunity and I took it. I glanced at her. She hadn't changed. Still won't take responsibility for anything. So that makes everything all right then? Because you didn't mean to do it? So tell me, Karen, how did you escape? She looks at her hands and I can see she's suddenly afraid again. I put drugs in the Coke you drank. Who knows what they were? I found them in your bag, and then I left you there, knowing you'd be too out of it to follow me. Drugged me. I remember the feeling of wooziness when I woke up in the bunk bed, to the room filling with smoke. I stood up, my heart banging. So that's why you were so sure I was dead. Because you thought I was too drugged up to escape. Well, you obviously didn't use enough, did you? Because I did wake up, and I was rescued. She stands up to face me, her hands clenched by her sides, her face red. I don't know why you're acting like the fucking victim at all, she spits. They were your drugs. When I found them, I realized what you've done. To me. To Henry back at the party that night. You evil, Beth. You ruined everything. I loved him. I loved Henry, and you ruined it all. So when you went to the loo, I drugged my can of Coke. Then pretended to fall asleep so you would drink it. I told you, I knew the damn, I told y'all what the fuck happened before she even gave the damn story. Trying to make it seem like she didn't just leave Shorty. She left her there. She left her there, died. Okay, not to die, but she died. She didn't know because she didn't know about the fight. But still, she left her there. You didn't give a shit about my feelings. You didn't even tell me you were seeing him. We were supposed to be friends, Karen. You know I was running away from an abusive relationship. That I had been through hell. Harry would have been good for me. But you didn't care about that, did you? You are a selfish bitch. You pissed off the wrong person when you fucked off with my passport and my identity and took my life. She splutters, her eyes burning with fury. But I didn't take your life. You had no life. You were going to give up the opportunity to do your degree, and I was desperate. What harm would it do? That's what I thought. You were dead, and there was a place on a respected course going to waste. That's nice. You knew I was dead, and yet you couldn't wait to fill my shoes. If I had died, it would have been your fault, Karen. Your fault. I can see that my words have stung her as I watch her collapse on the sofa, tears on her cheeks. She looks crumbled and small, and I realized with a sudden clarity that I no longer really care about Henry or about her. All of this was a distraction to stop me thinking about Linda. What I really should be doing is going home to Spain, to Mateo, to try and sort things out. He phones me every day. I never answer, but he leaves pleading messages, asking me to come home to him, to let him know that I'm safe, telling me that he still loves me. that we should be supporting each other through our grief. That we can try again for another baby. That it won't replace Leanna, nothing will. But we can be happy. But do I deserve to be happy? I sink into the chair and light a cigarette. I inhale deeply, my hands shaking. What am I doing? I'm no better than Karen. I've done some bloody, stupid things, some nasty things. Because I was bitter, jealous, and unhappy. I spent my life being controlled by my father, by Sheen. And when a lovely man like Mateo comes along, I think I don't deserve him. I've been so desperate to hurt her, to punish her. But now that I'm here, now that I ruined her relationship and her career, it all feels so anticlimactic. Because it doesn't stop the pain. It doesn't bring my baby back. I'm sorry for what I did with Harry, I say eventually. Her shoots up. You are? Her mascara has ran and her eyes are smudged with black. It looks like she's been punched in the face. I wasn't, I admit. Not at the time, but afterwards, yeah, I felt bad about it. I thought you were there too, you know. I thought she was still in that room. I didn't realize you were already done the running before the fire had even started. So the housewife, did you set up that as revenge? No. Okay, I'm gonna make it. I'll take another drag on my cigarette and tail while shaking my head. No, that was Shane. We were still married, you know. He was a sick bastard. She laughed bitterly. Yes, I'm beginning to realize that. He thought it was me in the paper. He wanted revenge for leaving him, for running off with his money. So he set the whole thing up and then tried to frighten you and your husband, thinking it was me. The taxidermy, the bloody underwear, it was all him. Taxidermy. She nodded. Stuffed animal, dead animals in the freezer. I shudder. That's my fear. I have a phobia of stuffed animals. I know it's weird, but I'm petrified of them. He knew if it had been me staying at the house, I would have seriously freaked out at seeing them. And I suppose the underwear was a threat. And if I seen all that, I would have realized it was him, that he had found me. She brushes her fringe from her eyes. It suits her, the hairstyle, more than it ever suited me. Her cheeks are still pink where I slapped her. I don't feel bad for losing my temper. I can't believe he went through all that trouble, she says. The house had been empty for months. He had a lot of time to work out his plan. I put the cigarette out on Evelyn's saucers. You'd be surprised what he's capable of. The thing he did when we were together, he was going to kill me, you know. I turned up at your flat, expecting to find you, and he answered the door. Oh, Beth. I'm just so tired, I said, realizing that it's true. When I saw your photo in the paper, I hated you. You had everything that could have been mine. A happy family, my eyes go to her stomach, and a baby on the way. How did you know? Evelyn told me. Her face pales. You met her? She was nice to me. She seen me hanging around and I frowned. What do you mean? She chuckles. I think she thought Jamie had some fancy woman. She must have seen you hanging out and thought he was having an affair. She tried to warn me. I swallowed. I was with her here. When she died? You were here? I nodded, blinking back tears at the thought of it. I was just leaving, and she had a heart attack. It was so sudden, so quick. And Sheen, was it you that killed him? There's no point in denying it. It was self-defense. I was running from him. He would have killed me. It was me and him. Oh my goodness, she mutters, her eyes darting around the room. Oh God, Beth. What are you going to do now? Will you go to the police? Will you tell them about Sheen? I suddenly have no idea. Okay, we're gonna leave that out. We're gonna leave that here. And this is gonna be our last freaking video.